A very pleasant evening to you out there. Many thanks for joining us on another edition of the program National Talk on ECWA Television International. My name is Joyce Jakada. We are live on Facebook and YouTube at ECWA Television International. You can do well to join the discussion. Tonight on National Talk, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has declared state of emergency on food security, sequel to food inflation across 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Again, anxiety trails the continuous killings and attacks in some parts of the country, even as House of Representative members have mandated the IGP and NSA to investigate the killings in Plateau State and ensure that culprits are brought to book. National Assembly has approved President Tinubu's $800 million loan alongside 500 billion naira request for palliative to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal. These and more we shall be discussing on National Talk tonight. To do this, I have Comrade Gad Shamaki. Good evening and welcome to National Talk.
Thank you, my pleasure. Good to see you again.
It feels good to have you after a long time.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, let's go straight into the discussion. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu described the killings in Plateau and some parts of the country as depressing, needless, and avoidable, and he has ordered the security agencies to bring to book the perpetrators in Mangu and insisted that the suspect must face the wrath of the law, and he said the cycle of violence must be dismantled in the country. And this is as the House of Representatives has mandated the IGP Kayode Egbetokun and the NSA Nuhu Ribadu to investigate the recent killings in Plateau and ensure culprits are brought to book. From Jos to Benue to some parts of the country, so much bloodshed like never before, even that of 8-month-old baby, which we witnessed here in Plateau State, and the circle of, oh, please investigate, bring the perpetrators to book, is what we have always faced and we have always seen. The narrative has always been the same. I just want to get your thoughts on the circles of killings and attack.
Well, I think to say the least is depressing, like Mr. President rightly pointed out. It's quite heartbreaking. It's really a circle. We've gone through these in Plateau States in 2001. I'm just happy that Mr. President did not sit on top of this issue, and he's urging the security agency to do the needful. But I think we need to move beyond all of this conversation, this instruction to carry and reaction and protecting innocent villagers, community people, and ensuring that people go to bed, they wake up, if God warrant them to be alive instead of someone coming to steal life out of them. And killing an 8-month-old baby is the least of what we can condemn, to say is quite unfortunate. But again, you know, we've argued severally that it's not in the change of guard in terms of STF commandant, in terms of GOC, Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Defense Staff, of all of these things. Is addressing the core issue of killings that matters most. In Benue, people were killed. In Zamfara area, we still have issues. Virtually everywhere across the country. IPOD just issued a statement recently saying that at the end of this month, almost half of next month, people are going to be at home. And so when this kind of conversation are put in the front burner, what runs through my mind all the time is that at what point will government show there's government in place? We cannot keep having government saying it's wrong, we're on top of the situation, you give directive. When people don't carry out that directives, what do you do? When people are killed, what do you do? If the military are not performing their duty, who do we hold accountable? And so while we put pressure on the police, the military, and other people to do their work, we equally need to equip them to ensure that they are motivated, to ensure that they have the right mindset, to ensure that they have the right equipment and manpower to be able to carry out this protection we're requesting from them. But I think we need to have a clear roadmap on security in Nigeria. Every state, like I've argued recently, need to have its own state security policy and community safety policy. That people will be able to look at it and like, okay, this is our own state document, how we want to respond to security. From point A to point B, who is expected to act? Who are the people we need to involve? And at what point do we need the federal might? At what point do we need the military and other people to get involved? At what point do we need to withdraw them and allow the police to do their work? Because all of these are internal security issues. And as much as the insecurity is national, there must be equally a local effort to address this issue. In Plateau State, if we've not learned anything, we should have been able to learn to live in peace. If we have not learned anything, we need to learn how to protect communities and ensure that evil men and women do not invade community late at night or early hours of the day and kill people. So the question is that from 2001, what has changed? We heard of Dogona Hawa, where women were killed and men in their sleep. Since then, there have been a lot of killings. We had the Riom issue. We've moved to Basa. Now we're in Mangu. And so it's taking over the whole landscape of the state. So the question is, who needs to respond to that? In Benue State, we were told that because Oton did not like certain people, that's why they're attacking. Oton has been out of office now for almost a month or two. The attacks are still happening. And so it's not about the individual now. It's about there are certain groups of persons that want to grab land. There are certain groups of people that think they want to form another government within government. There are certain groups of people that want to open a space for themselves to create all manners of havoc and to create criminality and live in an empire where they govern the places. And so when you move to areas within Zamfara, Kebbi, Asis, and Sokoto, this is the kind of thing we're saying. The bandits are now taking over in Niger State, in Zamfara. They are now carving out an enclave for themselves. You now pay royalty to them, you pay tax to them. They run a government there. In Abuja, just recently, on your way to what do you call Niger State, that area, Kubwa-Zuba area, people have been constantly being adopted and taken from there. The community say that there is a camp around there that is not far. Why are we not raiding that camp? Why are we not doing the needful? In more advanced country now, people use drone, to gather intelligence. So what is the collaboration? What is the cooperation and the networking among all our security agencies? I think we need to see more of intelligence. And I dare to say that is a sad commentary, and it's really a disturbing situation. Because anytime people cannot sleep, cannot eat well, cannot function well, and people live in perpetual fear and anxiety, such a person or such group of people will not function well. It means that all of your life is under how Nigeria will call it tension. Now, this is farming season. Now, the president just declared state of emergency on food security. Now, we're talking about people not able to go to their farms. So what are we saying after the farming season is over? Where are we going to get food to feed the nation? And if you take, for example, Mangu, if you know Plateau very well, you know that Mangu is a major food production local government. True. Benue State is said to be the food basket of the nation. How can there be basket and food when insecurity has taken over the community and people are not able to farm? So I think there's a lot of question begging for answer. And we need to see more proactive measure from government beyond giving out orders, instruction. We need to see government, the real sense of the government addressing these issues.
That's very true. Like this situation is just so unbearable. Like beyond depressing, this is sad. Having to know that about 30,000 people just between January to June are already displaced. About 300 people have been killed just in Plateau State, in Mango, Riom, and then Barkeladi. And like we've always maintained, we've always had these circles of, investigate, bring to book, and at the end of the day, nothing is being done about it. I think the political will and determination of leaders, when leaders see governance beyond some personal interest, beyond greed, then people will be able to do the needful, especially improving the welfare of the people, protection of lives and property, because as far as the Constitution is concerned, that's the primary responsibility of the government. And once you fail in that area, then you have failed totally.
You see, in Plateau State, for example, we need to fare better than what we are. From 2001 till date, we've had the STF in Plateau State. Sure. Whatever name we want to call it, but we now finally agree that it's STF, Operation Safe Haven. During the era of Governor Jang, we had a functional Operation Rainbow. Now, we don't have excuse that we're spending so much resources to maintain Operation Rainbow. I'm sorry, STF, because Operation Rainbow, I think, is in the state of Komato somehow. But why did we even allow Operation Rainbow to get into that state? It's a failure of governance. Because here you are with insecurity. Now you have a platform that need to address this issue of insecurity. You deliberately, and I say this with all sense of responsibility, deliberately allow it to go into state of comatose. Now the point is that, what did we achieve by that? Has the killing reduced? When you go to the Netherlands, they are making effort to close their prisons because they no longer have criminals in their community. But here we have threats, clear and present threat to our everyday existence. And the outfit that money was spent, I know at some point some persons were trained outside the country. I know the people were brought to an issue of neighborhood guard. I mean, all of these people were trained and supported. Now you allow that to get wasted, and then we're still having this situation. When you move to the STF, STF has been in existence now for almost 16, 15 years. What lesson have we learned? What action are we taking? And I hope that the new STF commandant and GOC will make a whole lot of difference because of his previous record.
Truly.
Because we must look at the economic implication of some of this structure that we have in place. And therefore, we need to have them held accountable and responsible for why are you there. Because if we say, and again, let me quickly add, the essence of security is preventive. The fact that I know if I walk into your premises today, you have a security man by the gate. You have dogs. You have CCTV. You have some kind of intelligence around. I'm going to be careful.
That's right.
And so for me, when people attack a particular community at any hours, as much as they kill the community, they are equally telling somebody you are irresponsible.
I was going to talk about the clear threats that have been going on because, like you rightly said earlier on, this killing as far back as 2001, and this like 20 years, and this thing is still happening.
Yeah.
We've had instances where letters are being thrown and people are being told, oh, we are coming tomorrow, like clearly stated, and then you see that they still show up, they kill, and then the next day they still come, and then nothing is being done, nobody's arrested. In fact, while people were talking about the killings during an interview with people at Birkin Ladi, they said even within the security presence, these things happen. So I think that is what led to the Honorable Dachshund Bagos moving the motion that a state of emergency should be declared on the killings in Plateau State and even beyond. It was just last week that 4 police personnel were killed in Zamfara State. Like the killings, the countings can go on and on. We cannot even exhaust it. We're just talking about Plateau State, that over 20 years from one local government to the other, and these things continue unabated. Honorable Dachshund Bagos moved a motion declaring that a state of emergency should be imposed. I just want to ask, do you think this is long overdue? Do you think that this is actually a good move, or probably maybe another way out? Because some people will tell you that no, there's no even need to declare because we are already living in fear, living with tension. You can't go to your farmland. You have to sleep with one eye open and all of that. It's already posing danger and all of that. I just want to get your take on
the truth of the matter is that even when I heard that Mr. Governor have declared curfew in Mangu, I got worried. Because in the past, we've seen where curfew have been put in place and people were still killed.
True.
And so I told myself, I hope that this time around, somebody will ensure that these villagers don't get killed at night. Because you don't allow them to move, and then somebody attacks them, and then they have no help coming anywhere. So I think that we need to be more innovative in this approach to this issue. We need to be more creative. When there's a particular, if the trend and pattern of a particular incident or situation keep changing, you equally need to keep adopting until you're able to find a solution to it. Now, I actually expected Mr. President to declare a state of emergency on insecurity in Nigeria, not just food security. Because one of the real causes of food insecurity is the human insecurity that we have and the threat to everyday's life.
That's true.
People cannot travel. People cannot live their normal life. If you're coming to Jos, I assure you that if people know it, they're like, what are you going to do in Jos? That's why are you going to Jos? Because people think the town is on fire. And so the same happened to other places where people think there is no peace. If today you tell your family members you're going to Anambra or Imo, I assure you'll be called for a family meeting. People want to ask you, what are you doing? Now, you have individuals that say that every Monday we must shut down communities and shut down business. Nobody's looking at the long-term implication of that. And then we have a government in place. So government need to come out publicly and clearly to address this kind of issue. Now, in the last couple of months, we've had all manners of public holiday in this country. And for every public holiday that we had, it has its implication on the economic of the country.
That's true.
As at today, dollar is almost 816 naira to $1. And so are we growing or are we going backward? And so every issue we're discussing today is tied to security. If there's insecurity, you cannot talk about peace, you cannot talk about development, you cannot talk about social justice, you cannot talk about anything. And so when government want to talk about development of this country, we must address this issue of insecurity. And this issue must be addressed holistically that we don't show fear, we don't show favor. That if you're found wanting, you need to be dealt with decisively. I remember during the administration of Governor Jang, we had a situation where people were arrested and the people were taken to Abuja, and that was the end. And that's when people start agitating, no, you cannot arrest people and take them anywhere. This offense were committed here. Deal with them and take decisive decision here. So you see, over the years, we've mismanaged this issue of insecurity in Plateau State. And it's because we mismanage it. That explains why we couldn't manage Boko Haram. We couldn't manage the issue of the crisis in the Middle Belt and other parts of the country, because it availed us an opportunity then to extract this situation and like, look, what do we need to do? But you know that this apathy, this feeling then in the country is a Plateau problem. Let them deal with it. It's a minority problem. Let them deal with it. And even in the Plateau, some people are saying it's a Biron problem. Let them deal with it. Now it has moved from Biron problem to Miango problem. It has moved from Miango problem to become Magavo problem. You know, it has gone to Bokos. It was their problem. So are we going to keep allowing this problem to go around? You know, in Benue, it was in Agatu at one point. Now it has gone to Guma. It has gone. So it's a threat to everybody. National State is not safe. In Niger State, there are communities where people are not living at peace because bandits have taken over the whole community. You need to listen to the House of Rep members, was it yesterday, complaining about insecurity, especially the member from Zamfara and other places. You know, and so I think that we need to give this insecurity clear attention. The amount of small and light weapon in circulation in Nigeria is alarming. It's the biggest in the whole of West Africa.
Well, talking about treating perpetrators without fear or favor, Chief of the Army Staff Major General Taoreed Lagbaja at the Army Headquarters in Abuja, while playing host to the Zamfara State Governor, talking about Dawood Lawal, called on governors to give troops free hands to eliminate criminals. And then apart from him, we saw how that the governor of Enugu State and that of, I think, Imo went to visit 2 service chiefs and trying to seek for help because of the insecurity that is actually going on there. Beyond that, we saw that the former governor before now talking about applying what the late President Yar'Adua did to amnesty, granting amnesty to militants, saying that, see, we need to grant amnesty to bandits and we need to dialogue. We even saw how that the former governor had snap pictures with the bandits. And beyond that, with the recent clash or killings in Benue State, we saw how that Reverend Father Aliyah was saying that he's ready to give amnesty to bandits, to anybody that is willing to. So I'm just concerned, should we keep romancing these people? Because we saw in Zamfara, even after the former governor dialogued with them, had pictures and all of that, the killings didn't stop. It continued unabated. And then now we're seeing the Reverend Father in Benue State suggesting that, oh, he's willing to grant amnesty to anybody that is willing to lay his arms. Should we continue romancing these people? Or we should toward the part of the president that say we must bring an end to this, eliminate all this criminal
elements? I think it's coming from a weak angle. It's a defeated kind of attitude to say that you're a criminal and I'm here to beg you that can we live in peace. You know, there's an issue with somebody that have killed before. There's an issue with somebody that have stolen before. There's an issue with someone that has a particular lifestyle. It takes a lot for that person to really get reform and change. And so, as much as I don't advocate for balance of terror, I think some of these approaches we've taken have not really helped us. And I give you several instances. Before now, the former governor of Kaduna State, El-Rufai, told us how much he spent money negotiating with alleged bandits in order to bring peace. Until his tenure ended, people were still being killed.
True.
In Katsina, we saw a picture of the then Governor Masari with a bandit and AK-47. But up to today, there are still incidents of insecurity around that area. The same thing have happened in Zamfara. So for how long are we going to keep negotiating with criminals? And now, if not because of the kind of government that we have in place, individual like Tampolo and his cohort that were a threat to the corporate existence of this country, today they are being protected by the state. And then you ask yourself this question: why do we spend so many years going to school when we could as well be criminals and get what we want and be the mafias in our community? And so we're not even looking at the long-term implication of some of this action. Because for every time people commit crime, now you say you're giving them amnesty, Somebody will now do his own and say, well, if I do it for a while, I make some money, I'll go and tell government amnesty and let's live in peace. They are playing on our intelligence and on the corporate existence of this country. If you're a criminal, you're a criminal. The law have clearly defined you as a criminal, so the law must take its full course. And this is why I like state like America. They say we don't negotiate with terrorists. Because you need to let them know that, look, the state is the state and the state have the might and the power to do the needful. And so if today you solve one problem, then tomorrow God and his cohort decide to become gangs. Then we terrorize the nation, we kill people, then one day we say, we are now born again. Please, let's be incorporated into the society. The society will absorb us. Whatever gain we've made from our crime, we eat and we live normally. And that set of persons will come for. How long are we going to keep going out that circle? So I think government, like I've been saying since I started this conversation, government must be government in the real sense of the word. There is no room for you to negotiate with people that will play tricks on you, use that opportunity to acquire more arms and hit hard on the state. In the issue of the bandits around the Northwest, a lot of them kept coming to say, look, we want to lay down our arms. After a while, they go back. There was a particular one that the government even built a house for. They even gave him a position as AC on something I cannot remember. But he was later killed in the course of crossfire with other bandits. And so I think it's sheer laziness on the part of government. It's sign of weakness that these are criminals element. These people are armed and they've been killing other people. Now, when you give them amnesty, those that were their victims, what do you do with them?
They are always at the receiving end. We've seen that in the past.
And you see, as we speak now, there are still people in internal displaced camps.
True.
That cannot go back to their homes. And yet you want to now spend millions on someone that took himself, deliberately and say, look, I want to be a criminal.
Kill and destroy.
I want to be a killer. And then you now say, come and take 10 million and go sin no more. This a church television. I don't want to start acting, and then people ask, "Are you a Christian?" But I think even those people that were repenting those days were not as hardened criminals as this, because you cannot be, even if you kill and you're going to repent, your repentance should be to the persons you committed offense against first, not to the government, because the government say, "Okay, I've forgiven you," and me that you hurt, I say no. Will government come and flog me or kill me later because I said no? So government need to manage this issue. And I tell you that government need to be sincere. And then let me quickly add to some of these crises that we're having is a resource crisis because people are struggling for that scarce resources. In other places, there are minerals that people want to take over. In other places, there are agrarian vegetable, good places where animals will feed, so people want to take it over. In other cases, people want to take it over because they want to form a camp in order to attack other places and do criminality. So government need to ask itself this question: why are these people flourishing? Who are their sponsors? Why are we unable to arrest them? Because for me, I think it's total disregard for government that you have a government in place and people that don't have the training. And we spend a lot of money training those people in uniform. And then people that don't have half of their training are running crisis everywhere. It says a lot about us. It's very telling.
It's really unacceptable that non-state actors are actually
battered criminals, uneducated people, very dirty-looking guys.
I said earlier on that with the right political will, with determination, with the right leaders in place, together we'll be able to deal with this issue of insecurity and then make the country a better place. And for us to do this, we must have the right people in place.
But again, as we address this issue, this issue has several fronts. We must equally hold our politicians accountable.
That's true.
Because some of them actually sponsor these criminals to use them either to cause confusion in community where they think they are not popular or to use them as guards or bodyguards or anything.
I think recently an analyst was talking about the fact that the governor of the president needs to invite the governor of Plateau State so that he can brief him more on what is happening, because the killings began in April. And a lot of people have likened it to political reasons, some economic reasons, social factors, and all of that. And there's actually need to look into this. So why all of a sudden in April these killings just escalated, and in a particular local government, like a lot of questions need answers.
Yeah, but again, as we beg for this question, the question is that where are those that need to gather intelligence? Where are they? If they have the intelligence, how have they analyzed it? If they've been able to analyze it, how are we making use of it? Because these are not speculation. We can't work with speculation and rumors. You and I cannot do any deep analysis. Somebody needs to be out there, with pen and paper, understanding this trend and pattern, asking questions, investigating it, sleeping, having sleepless nights. Somebody needs to, that's the responsibility of someone. And so is that person doing his or her work? You cannot have DMI, you cannot have DSS, you cannot have custom, you cannot have immigration, you cannot have the police. In the police, you have several intelligence units. And in a small local government like Mongu, people have not been sleeping for a month plus. In a small state like Plateau, for the past 21 years, people have seen no peace. People move from one local government to another. There are allegations that in that small forest, in that small area, people are occupying it illegally, but yet government is scared to take the appropriate action. And then when somebody comes on air and criticizes government, government will unleash all of its state apparatus on that individual within hours, and they are picking up. But yet, where government need to address issue, government does not address that issue. And you see, when people think that government is not fair and firm, people test the might of the government. And this is why you hear people cry of bias. You know, there are instances where people have been attacked. The security agencies are not there to protect them. When the people think they know where the attackers and they go to attack them, they will be arrested because somebody saw them with a damn gun, or people think that, but where were you when these people were crying out? And you see, until we address this issue holistically, and if we are not careful, we get to that stage where everybody will buy a gun. As we talk now, virtually it's already 6:30 or 7:30. Go around Plateau State now. In the state capital now, virtually every community now have a what do you call it, a barricade around. And if you check very well, you see somebody with a day gun or a gun standing beside it. And so gradually, we're militarizing the whole state.
In fact,
and the
we saw how
implication,
that a member of the House was saying that people should rise to the occasion and protect themselves.
And if you're traveling now from Abuja, now if there's anybody on the road from Abuja, as you move, you find out that communities have started blocking roads gradually with their own vigilante members. Now there's a team line between when somebody is a perpetrator and somebody is a victim. You know, so you can be a victim today. In the process of defending yourself, become a perpetrator. Because once anybody have this gun in his or her hand, that person has more strength than all of us put together in a room without a gun. And so we need to look at this issue and ask ourselves as a people, how do we want to continue in this kind of life? Now, for the young children that were born like you now in 2001, you know nothing more than conflict. You know nothing more than military. But that was not how the society used to live. We had a society where you hardly see soldiers on the street. That when you see a soldier on the street, people come to see, look at this fine officer, look at how he's looking. But this is it. Just yesterday, I was telling my friend that now you have even uniformed people not living in the barracks. But when I was growing up, like 99.9% of uniformed persons were staying in the barracks. Only 1% were outside the barracks. And so this is how we're gradually losing the system. Now, the soldiers that people hitherto used to respect, they have now become, I see you anyhow. Because in virtually every state of the federation now, there's a military presence in here. And because of the so much presence of the military, the police are gradually losing their place in terms of internal security of the country. Because even when boys are rioting, they bring soldiers. When woman and husband are fighting, they bring soldiers. So at what point would our police be equipped and supported to do the needful? And if you look at the history of how Mopo were brought on board, it was for the Mopo to address issues that the conventional police cannot address. As of today, a lot of the Mopos are not functioning. Those days that we had Metasine in Gombe and other places, it was the Mopo that were sent to go and address it. The Mopo have almost similar training with the military. But now, where are they? And so we need to even check our security architecture of this country and tell ourselves, okay, does the federal government have what it takes to police this nation? If they don't, then we need to start talking about state police. Now, at the regional level, like the North Central, you can have a highly Mopo unit. And what do you call them Mopo? It's for them to be mobile. That at the slightest provocation or breakdown of law and order, they can run in and intervene. So when you have those Mopos and there's problem in Plateau, and the police cannot work or are not working well, you now say, okay, Mopo, go in and support them. And then you have them moving within that region. In every region, you have the same thing. But
well, with the right political will, we'll be able to deal with these issues, and especially having the right people occupy the right position. Shortly, I would like you to be commenting on the issue of power tussle, as well as the National Assembly approval of President Tinubu's $800 million, as well as 500 billion naira request to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal. Before then, let's go on this quick break. When we return, our phone lines will be open for you to call in and make your contribution. Stay with us. Democracy is the theory that common people know what they want and deserve to get it good and hard. Join me every Friday, 7 p.m. on National Talk for analysis as well as in-depth perspective on issues as they unfold in and around Nigeria, as well as an opportunity to add your voice. Thank you for staying with us on National Talk. In case you're just joining us, this is National Talk on ECWA Television International. We have been discussing the state of the nation, looking at the insecurity as well as power tussle. I've been speaking with Gad Shamaki. Thank you for doing justice to the topic. Let's talk about power tussle. Like lately, we've seen how the PDP governors met and is in a bid to reconcile after the 2023 election. Again, we saw how that the APC, through the chairman, talking about Abdullahi Adamu, saying that, oh, the principal officers that emerged in the National Assembly does not represent their stand. Yes, he won't deny the fact that he was visited by the Senate President as well as the Speaker, but they didn't have any discussion that has to do with the emergence of the principal officers, even though some National Working Committee members of the APC are saying that whatever the APC chairman is saying does not represent their stand. And lately he has been on the news for one reason or the other, saying, oh, I should be applauded by Tinubu for delivering him, even though at primaries I supported Tambuwal. And then Nigerians are actually expecting the ministerial list. Going by the constitution, 60 days from the inauguration is expected that the president should present the list of the ministers. And I just want to get your take on power tussle, positions of people saying, no, we don't support this, we don't support that, and then the emergence, who are the kind of people that should be considered when it comes to the ministerial position?
Well, politics is a game of power. It's a game of interest. And so there's nothing unusual about what is happening, because even in other advanced democracy, this sort of short to diplomacy, this sort of conversation happens, and you may not always have it your way, because you may have an interest here, someone has a better interest. So it's all about interest. I think for us and most Nigerians is that whatever interest that is being pushed around, let the interest not supersede that of the nation. That whether the principal officers are from left to right, let's just have it. And I say this most often, that when the argument of the Senate President need to be a Christian, and Akpabio was selected as the Senate president because the argument that we need to have a Christian. I told myself, the fact that I bear God does not really make me a Christian.
That's true.
Because if they say you're a Christian, it's like you're living a Christ-like life. And so, if this, I'm not even sure if some of them have been to church throughout this year. First instance, if they be, what kind of Christian life do they represent?
In fact, someone shared that during the fellowship at the National Assembly, like sometimes you barely see four members attending.
So for me, again, as much as I know in this country religion is a very sensitive issue, I rather want to see performance. I rather want to see a true believer in the real sense of the word. I don't want to be carried away by all of these emotions I give you an example. Good Luck, by name and belief, is a Christian. The FCT, before Good Luck, FCT minister have been a Muslim. During Good Luck era, it was still a Muslim. Does he not know that it's good to empower a Christian to be a minister of the FCT? People may not understand. But when a particular religion, a particular ethnic group hold on to a particular position for too long, they keep taking over that particular place and keep reinforcing it with their own people. And so I think what Nigerians want is governance. What we want are people that will deliver. And you see, each time you have this issue of whether it's a Christian, a Muslim, where the person is coming from, it's because there is no service delivery. When people get what they deserve, and they get it not because they are a Christian or Muslim, people will care less about your faith. And apart from that, we're a very religious country, but we're not a God-fearing people. Because if we're God-fearing, a lot of the corrupt practices around us will not be happening. A lot of the killings we see will not be happening. A lot of the injustice we see will not be happening. And so I think what we want is a National Assembly that's not going to be a rubber stamp. It's a National Assembly that will represent aspiration of you and I, that will be able to speak to the government, the executive power, and say, no, this does not reflect what the people are saying. These are the questions we think they should be asking. For example, now, Mr. President is talking about 800 billion or 500 billion for 12 million household, and they are talking about 8 million per house. For crying out loud, 8,000. What will 8,000 do for a family of 3 or 4 or 5, or even for a husband and wife? Are you going to give them that money monthly? Are you going to give them daily? What's the sustainability? What government need to do is to reduce government wastage, is to reduce the number of appointees that government have. If a governor appoint me today as his XA, I'm going to appoint my own PA. And probably my PA will appoint PA to the PA. And government will be paying. And then probably government have a convoy of 50 cars. For each of that jeep that you see, you cannot do a full time with less than 50,000. Now calculate that 50,000 per week, per month, per year. You can see the wastage there. What government need to do is to ensure that we have subsidy in the food that we buy in the market. Is to ensure that there's fertilizer for farmers, there's tractor for farmers, to ensure that if I go to the hospital, there will be a doctor waiting for me, there will be a nurse to attend to me, there will be medicine for me in the hospital. That if my children go to public school, they are going to get the best of teachers, they are going to get writing material, they are going to get books and other things. Now, when you are able to cushion that effect, it will help add value to us. Now, this decision that the Tinubu-led administration is doing, were a decision that ought to happen before they remove the fuel subsidy. Because now we've removed fuel subsidy, we are now confused. The money that was meant for that subsidy was to have been the money that you're plumbing back into the system. Now you're looking for loan, you're looking for bailout.
And you know, a lot of concerns have been shared. By the way, our phone lines are now open for you to call in and add your voice to the conversation, talking about the National Assembly approving President Bola Ahmed Tinubu $800 million loan, as well as the 500 billion naira out of the 819 billion naira supplementary budget of 2022. And then on the screen is the breakdown: 500 billion naira for palliatives to cushion the effect of the fuel subsidy removal, and then 70 billion is to the National Assembly members to support the working conditions of the new members, and then 19.2 billion naira for Ministry of Agriculture to address massive destructions of farmlands due to flooding of the 2022, and then 35 billion to National Judiciary Council, 10 billion to FCT administration for critical projects. These are like
and you see, when you look at this language now, how do you define critical projects? Now, if you say you're going to give 500 billion for palliative, how do you identify those that need that palliative? Because during the Buhari administration, 5,000 were given out. As of today, Go back and carry out statistics and research and tell me how many of those people that got that 5,000 that have been able to multiply it.
And you know that research showed that as that last year we had about 60 million people that are unbanked, and then it was the cash transaction that we're talking about. These unbanked people are people that you can classify under the poor household and all of that. And going by this approval, the federal government is saying, oh, we plan to transfer again 8,000 naira to 12 million poor households in the country for 6 months. And if you sum it up, it's 48,000. So in 6 months, I was just wondering, in 6 months, 48,000, how far can this go? Because going by the removal of the fuel subsidy, it has prices of goods and services has skyrocketed, like transport system, almost everything more than doubled of what used to be. And then it's saying, oh, we are targeting this household for the $800 million loan. A lot of people have shared concern, and even though the president is saying, oh, we just want to expand the coverage of the stock responsive network support among the poor and vulnerable Nigerians. And he also emphasized the fact that at the end of the day, this 8,000 to 12 million household is going to impact on even about 60 million Nigerians. And then some of the reactions is by the special advisor on public communication to presidential candidates of the PDP. I'm talking about Frank Shaibu, saying that this is another way to scam Nigerians, because in the past we saw President Muhammadu Buhari's cash transfer that didn't even reach most of the people that were targeted. We're not even sure who are the people.
Yes. You know, and there were accusations that it was tilted to a particular region, to a particular area than other person. It was the same money that we saw our respected vice president then, Osibanjo, in Lagos, distributing that money shortly before an election and other places. So there's a trust deficit.
And just to add to that again, you recall Frank Shaibu also made reference to the COVID-19 palliatives, where we saw that some politicians hoarded it, kept it at some particular warehouse when Nigerians actually dying in hungers. In fact, in some parts of the country, we saw how that some people had to go and just invade the warehouse, get what they could get. And so people are asking questions, how sure are we that this money, this is not another way to siphon, this money will not end in some few individual pockets? On what parameter? This is a country that we have always complained about data, accurate data.
Very well.
On what parameter are you going to share this? This is a country that accountability, transparency have always been a problem. We just saw the breakdown.
Because as of today, we are not even sure of our population. You know, you don't have a data that reflect the total number of women, men, young person, elderly people. And so when you want to carry this kind of intervention, you should be guided by specific data and information, empirical facts. But what we have now is that government wake up and assume they know everything. Government need to be a bit more intelligent than they are on some of these issues. And I tell you that 6 months down the line, if we're alive and healthy, we're going to have this conversation, and people will be asking, who were those people that got the 8,000? What did they do with the money? How has it added value to people? What we ate is 8,000 now going to be for you to open a small business. Why? You know, there are a lot of things that you expect government to think about. Years ago, we had the National Director of Employment, NDO, something of that nature. Where are those kind of places for people to learn vocational training and to be able to become self-employed? You know, the argument is that if somebody keeps giving you fish, the person is not helping you. But the person that is helping you, the person that teaches you or taught you how to fish, so that you're able to be a man of your own or a woman of your own. So I think that government need to be a bit scientific. They need to be more proactive and more focused on some of these things. I think a lot of Nigerians think that this subsidy is a scam, which we all agree. But I think where a lot of people disagree is the approach of government towards the removal of the subsidy. What was supposed to happen first was to put palliative in place. To say, okay, if we remove this subsidy, how much are we going to get? You know, you gradually move us in that direction. Not the kind of sudden reaction we're seeing, and then government seem confused. Now you're running everywhere for loan. You're looking for palliative. When you get it, in the hurry to cushion down the effect, you start making errors because you want to please everybody. So I think that we need to move away from this Nigeria Fire Brigade approach to issue of governance. To agree that, look, if there's a problem that is facing us, we need to look for practical solution to that problem by taking time to think about the problem, do analysis of the problem, and look at the short-term, medium-term, and long-term intervention, providing buses for workers to go to work. You know, I hear in some state that they reduce number of days to 3.
Yeah, Kwara State.
How sustainable is that? What value are we going to get?
And then what happens to people that are not civil servant?
So you see, so government should not be lazy. You know, government have the resources to employ the best brains. And so government should get the best hand on board. You know, once you're a leader, you need to look everywhere to bring the right people on board to solve your problem. And you see, if this whole issue of palliative subsidy is not taken care of, we're going to start having small theft happening everywhere. Armed robbery, small stealing in community, in Angwa, in homes, and because people are looking for ends to meet.
And true, we can't even deny the fact that people are suffering.
You know,
the
people
common
are suffering.
man is really suffering. People are living in pain.
There is no middle class again in Nigeria. You are either rich or you are poor. Let nobody deceive you that it's a middle class.
And you know, bunch of the burden of the first subsidy removal is being felt by the common man.
Of course.
Because a lot of things that, you used to afford, now you can't no longer afford.
Some weeks ago, I was at the filling station not too far from here, and I wanted to buy fuel. Somebody came and said, give me fuel 700. And in my mind, I said, they increase this fuel, that means that which is 700 just going to buy 1 liter. And it's not as if our income has changed. It's still the same salary we're collecting, but a lot of things have changed.
A lot of people have reacted to the loan issue, like as well as the 500 billion naira palliative that the president actually requested to cushion the effect, and one of which is the NLC. They were actually questioning the methodology of the federal government, saying, we're going to be sending 8,000 naira to this can 48,000 in 6 months to a household cannot even alleviate poverty. It cannot.
You're not talking about a lot of our uncles in the villages have more than 2 wives.
That's true.
So the question I ask, are you going to be at the local government level to address this issue, or are you going to every ward and village and district to attend the issue? Who are those people that are going to identify them? How many of those people have bank accounts? How do you intend to transfer the money to them? Are you going to be going cash with the money, and then you now tell us that bandits will lay you, or a snake have eaten the money, or a chicken have eaten the money? So there are a lot of worries, you know. So this is how we're told about the school feeding program. At the end of the day, we have over 2 billion Nigerians that are out of school. You know, so what is government? I've stopped being very critical of government. I want to at times see whether we can support government to succeed. But when government is thinking, you ask yourself, are these people thinking from the moon? Are they not seeing the reality of the time? Are they not facing what people are facing? You know, so I think government need to consult more. Government need to listen.
And I think, again, government should be accountable and transparent. It was recently that Sarah was asking the federal government to account for the 4 billion naira it has saved from the first subsidy. What have you done with it? What are your plans for it? Because when you are accountable, it is in this same country that we have issues of, recovered loot and no information again.
You know, the issue again is the fact that when people see where money is going to, people will be angry less. Not that they will not be angry, but the anger will be less. Now, if you travel, the roads are in bad shape. You're worried about insecurity. You're worried about power and electricity. You're worried about industries that are not working. You're worried about the fact that government is not paying salary. You're worried about that pensioners are not getting their pension. So at the end of the day, you have people that are angry all of the time. And this explains why people are... people just get angry and start fighting out of nowhere. You just wonder why somebody just too emotional about issue. It's all of this pressure. You're in the city hustling, they call you, your mother is not feeling fine, your uncle's son, and you know, in this kind of community where we are, your another person's problem is your problem.
That's true.
You're not a white man where you say your problem is only that of your wife and your 2 kids. You know, so your schoolmate will tell you he has a problem, your neighbor have a problem. At the end of the day, even if you're not able to solve it, you are saddened by the fact that you know they have a problem you couldn't help. So I think we need to get to that level where we need to reduce the cost of governance. Now, the money that is going to be given to the National Assembly members,
70
what
billion.
Exactly are they going to do with that money? Is it to renovate the National Assembly? Is it for their housing? Until we make political office less luxurious, you know, until we reduce that comfort, we won't get it right. There are countries in this world, now you're talking about 70 billion to National Assembly to support the working condition of new members. ASU have been complaining. Teachers have been complaining.
Health
NSC have been
workers.
complaining. Our health facilities are not working. Yet for people that go to work maybe twice a week, we are spending this huge amount of money on them. You know, I was told that that recently when some of them resumed was someone just got an alert of 90 million.
Wow.
How much do a teacher earn for the whole life cycle of working for 35 years? And then somebody at a go got 90 million alert for winning an election and for saying that you are now honorable member. Why won't politicians kill themselves to get there? Why would they keep putting other people perpetually in bondage so that they will be able to keep being the only few persons there? So in other countries, they reduce the comfort of the office. Nobody gives you any allowance or anything. I was told recently that over 30 vehicles were taken from Otom's house. The other day we saw that of the Zamfara governor, even though he said it was money that were given to him by cars that were donated during his campaign. The question is that why do government need to buy cars for every government appointee? Why are we not recycling those cars? Why must everybody go with his own car? And then you now say there is no money, then you spend another billion buying new Helios, buying new Jeeps, buying new everything. So the wastage in government is out of this world. And it's only in third world countries like ours where we don't have the money that we have those wastage. Because in other places, government come and go. So the property of government stays there. We used to have commissioner quarters. They wake up one day and say they are selling it. And then furniture allowance came for National Assembly members. So if you have like an apartment for National Assembly members, you will not be talking of housing to them every year. If you spend your 4 years, you go, we repaint the house. If it's dirty, we spoil it. If it's spoiled, we fix it and that person stayed here. So you don't need to give every member after every 4 years billion of money to go and get house for themselves in Abuja. Because they left their community to come and serve the people.
A quick question, Comrade Gad. They are also concerned about this continuous loan, because it is being said when a country's debt to revenue ratio is exceeding 30%, then it's becoming a huge concern. But ours is like more like it's heading to 100%, and it spells doom. So are you concerned about this issue of loan requests, especially when you look at the next generation?
Well, I think like every other Nigeria I am. I was joking with one of my friends recently that that I hope Nigeria will not become like one of these African countries that China took over their airport, their seaport and other places because of the loans we are collecting. I know people will argue that even Americans collect loan, but you are not America. And the issue is not that people don't want government to collect loan, but what do you do with that money? We heard about the last administration that they've already eaten the money before they went to the National Assembly to say, look, give approval for money that has been utilized already. Now, if you collect loan, and I know that if I go to Bukuru in Jos to Terminus, there will be a train, and I know that that train is a result of a loan, I will say this is where the loan is going to. If I go to AYA from Kefi, there's a train that will take me to AYA. Or if there's a train that will take me to Gwagwalada, or that will take me to Dzuba, or there's a bus that is functioning, I'm able to know. Or if I'm coming to any part of the country and I see there are good roads that will help maintain my shocks and other things, I say this is where the money, we agree. You build hospital and equip it, we see it. But when you collect loan, and the loan is for salaries or any other thing that tomorrow you cannot touch or feel, then we're in trouble. Because loans are supposed to be used for structure. Something that people can be able to feel and say, okay, we know there are no hospitals here, so we're providing this loan to build this hospital. We're doing it to build this bridge. We're doing it to ensure that flood do not keep people. I mean, there are a lot of issues. But when you collect the loan and we don't know what, or you collect the loan and then only 10% of the money going to the project, 90% going to individual pockets, what have we achieved?
That's a powerful one. Leadership and governance in this is about service. Thank you so much for creating time to speak with us.
Pleasure.
Great analysis as always. To our viewers out there, thank you so much for staying with us on today's edition of National Talk. Our leaders must rise to the responsibility and live up to their calling. They should be able to improve the welfare of the citizens and live up to their primary responsibility of protection of lives and property. Leadership is indeed from the heart to the people. Governance is about improving the welfare of the people. Nigeria is a great country. Together we can make it work when we speak truth to power. Until we come your way next week with another package on National Talk, you have a great night.